This video series is all about energy, what it is, how it works, where it is, and especially how it relates to human beings and how we are it and it is us and everything in the known universe. So first off, on our screen here, we see how it's just dark. And this is the basic nature of reality. We can call it space or the invisible world, the 96% of everything where the atoms are like 4%. You know, that's just a number, but energy is a property of space. What does that mean? Space owns energy. It's like if we were to simplify this at a greater scale, we'll have another video all about space in a hierarchy sense. Energy lives in space, just like we live in space, and all the atoms live in space, and everything that is visible, the stars, all the atoms, family that we all live in space. And space owns us, in a sense. We are properties of space. It's kind of like if you live on a certain continent in a certain country, like you could say that the country is a property of you, or you're a citizen or resident of it, because like you're in its body, you're in its domain, you're on its island or in its town, like as if you're living someone's home or you're a child of a parent. And yeah, you can say like the parent, you're a property of, of that. You can't say like you own it. You can say that, but it just sounds funny. Like people say, well, yeah, that's the dog owner or whatever, owner of a pet or of a vehicle or anything, but we are properties of space. So energy is a property of space. And space is a form of, or I should say, space is conscious, it's consciousness, and everything on down the line is part of that consciousness. The atoms that contain energy are all conscious of the one consciousness. So energy is all motion, everything that moves, all the activity that goes on is part of energy. And there's a number of definitions for energy. For example, one of them, the most popular one, is work. Energy is defined as work. And work is a really big word because like everyone goes to work. And so just to remind everyone on this discussion that we're having about energy, we're keeping this more to the human domain because the subject is so vast across physics and quantum physics and mechanics and everything, potential, kinetic, all those factors of energy. But The issue with science, even modern science, is that energy in relation to the human has been excluded. It's only been discussed and defined and measured in every other sense outside of the human domain. Because when we talk about law of attraction and gravitation, all of these big terms, you know, it's never been considered with us in mind. So when we say that energy is work, you know, everyone goes to work, or, you know, those that do go to work, you know, there's even that term, the working class. So it reminds me actually of a video, a TED Talk by Jacob Lieberman, where it said, the title was Stop Looking and Start Seeing, the TEDx talk in Maui. And one part of it, he was talking about how everyone or everything has a job. Like bees have a job, you know, to pollinate, make honey. Ants have a job. The earthworms have a job. All different species of fungus and mold. You know, he didn't go that deep into it, but just for a great explanation of it, like everything has a job or a purpose, you know, even down to the atoms. Like water has a job to like nourish everyone and everything. Even if you were to divide the atoms of water and separate them from hydrogen to oxygen, you know, you could say, well, oxygen has a job. It's part of the air, you know, which hydrogen is, and a wide range of atoms that make up our atmosphere. So everything and everyone has a job, right? So all of the atoms are at work. Down on the scale, you know, like we could say, yeah, H2O has a job, you know, doing its thing as water. It makes up our body. It makes up the planet. It's working around the clock, you know, in the clouds, like delivering weather systems. And it's working as the air, you know, the air is circulating within the water and everything that goes around, you know, we're breathing in and out as air and as water. So, you know, the atoms have a job. And so, yeah, basically everything is atoms. But I could also say, like, our cells, the cells in our body have a job. They're all at work. But then again, we're still talking about those same atoms. And then I could say, you know, people have jobs. They go to work and all the different roles that we play in society. So that's like, yeah, energy at every scale in this atomic soup that we are. Everything is working. And we are all working as the body parts or the elements of space, because we are property of space. You know, space owns all the atoms that reside inside of it. So we are the body parts of space. So work, energy, and all the atoms work. You know, then there's so many other aspects of energy, like they define it as a calorie. A unit of energy is a calorie, you know, and there's some fact and fiction related to that definition of the word calorie. But we're not going to go into that right now. We're going to stick on to the human aspect of what energy is. You know, there's mental energy with our thoughts. You know, all the brains are streaming information. You know, the plant or the fauna kingdom or queendom, fauna and flora, everything is part of space. Space is brain. Space is the mainframe, because information is the nature of reality, and it's the brain of all of the atoms. You know, like all the plants have thoughts, and we see all these, there's so many examples of this from films and books, you know, like The Secret Life of Plants, and you know, even things like dust. You know, I remember Hannah's book a long time ago called The Secret Life of Dust. So everything, all the atoms, first of all, are alive, right? You know, they say that we are stardust, you know, which we are. Everything is atomic in nature. That's just a word, but, you know, it's all alive on down to the scale, all the scales of our existence. Everything is alive, breathing and engaging with each other. It's transacting, it's interacting, it's, you know, acting. We're all actors on the stage of life, and we have reactions to each other. It's this constant, perpetual in and out breathing, just this flow of everything in motion. So that is like part of the mental games here on Earth, because there's this saying that goes, thinking is listening. Thinking is listening. You know, it's not like you are thinking, but we are being thought. You know, and that goes all into this simulation theory of how we are living in this matrix of information. But basically, thoughts are streaming into us, and we're like the radios, and there's different radio stations and frequencies, energetic frequencies, and everyone has a unique signature, a unique sign, like our fingerprints, a unique address, like you have an email address or a mailing address or a specific phone number, and everyone gets thoughts. Like, you aren't creating your thoughts necessarily, and we all know this. Not we all, but those of us that are tapped into this know what I'm talking about. You know, and this is also linked to this concept of there's no free will, because, you know, you aren't creating your thoughts, you know, and Sam Harris did a number of talks on this, of how you don't form your sentence per se. It's being formed for you, and your tongue is just wagging, and the words are coming out in your particular language, but it's not you that is like constructing that. We're streaming it. We're streaming the information. The information is also a property of space. just like energy is a property of space. So we're streaming this information, and that goes to mental energy. That's where we were. We're on mental energy, and mental energy links to emotional energy, you know, because thoughts are linked to emotions, but not always, because sometimes you can feel something and you don't have the words to describe it. Like you could have a good or bad feeling or vibe about any noun, you know, person, place, or thing, and you might not even have words for it. It's like even some people that are emotionally undeveloped, you know, because there's all levels to this, but at certain levels where they call it arrested development, the emotions aren't even like at an adult level of development, and there aren't any words or ideas that the person has to describe how they're feeling. And so that's a lot of times where substance abuse can come into the lives of those that are undeveloped that way, because the feelings are so much so that there's just barriers and issues associated with that. So again, we're just going over a basic concept of energy here. We went from mental energy to emotional energy, or the feeling, the emotional feelings, the feelings of the energy, the feelings of the energy that can have language, information to describe it, or the person does not have the consciousness developed to have the language to describe what they're feeling, but the feelings exist nonetheless with or without the mental information to process it. And there's also other energies that are engaged through our senses, you know, because there's energy associated with scent or what you smell. You know, whether or not you have the information about it, you can still smell something and it's invisible. And there's energy that produce the scent or the odor around it. You know, just like you can taste something, which that would be more physical, or it can be invisible too for those with more psychic development. They can have a taste of something even though it's not physically in their mouth. You know, you can touch something and that has a physical touch. Again, those with highly developed psychic skills or energetic skills, you know, psychic is just a word. You know, a psychic can be called an energetic person because they have that aspect of the invisible more developed in their consciousness. Sound is another one of our senses that's invisible. You can hear something but can't see it. You can see it sometimes, but sound again is more at the ground level of energy, because energy is in waves or vibrations, and that's more like the base level, base, you know, ground, base, the lower frequencies to the higher realms. But sound is another one of our senses that's an energetic sense that's invisible. And of course the eyes see, and we see the visible light spectrum, but not the invisible energy spectrum. And you know, light is energy, so we could say, well, we see this range of frequency on the energetic spectrum. Just like I said, the light spectrum is also interchangeably, I could say, the energy spectrum or the information spectrum. So we went from the mental energy to the emotional energy, the energy of our senses. There's energies of our chakra systems, from the root chakra, solar plexus, the spleen area, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the ajna, and so forth. And that we can talk about more when we discuss human design. But those are all energies that are related to the human body. And then if you were to zoom outward further, we could talk about our aura, which composes all of these energies, you know, at another scale, because it comes from within all the way pushed out, that our aura goes outward. So we're just keeping this video as an introduction. We're going to go deeper into all of these different energy systems and how they work and how it all relates to us. It's a fascinating subject, and it's a good reminder of in your day-to-day life, when you engage as a being of energy yourself, and you encounter other energies, not only with people, but in your environment and everything that you can see and what you cannot see. It will help to raise one's consciousness to be aware of all the energies, because like they say, energy can't be destroyed, it just changes form. Maybe it can be created, because even when it changes form, it's like a new creation from the other creation. So basically it just keeps changing form. So even if someone passes away, or you know, their wetsuit is no longer in operation, their energy joins the ocean of energy in space, and as a property of space, it's still in space. It's just in another dimension of space. There are infinite dimensions that we don't know of. Some we do, but there's no particular number. There's so much that's just ineffable that we are still discovering. It just goes on to eternity. So, just in short, we went over energy as a property of space. It's also work, and we're going to focus more on energy as it relates to the human species and how we can better understand it to increase our consciousness. This documentary, Free Energy, The Race to Zero Point, is an excellent overview of space and energy. And not only does it discuss technologies and Tesla systems that can be used to harness the energy of the ether, but it also features, like this book here, John Moray's book, The Sea of Energy in Which the Earth Floats. Because, as I said, space is the container of energy, of all energies. You see, that's us as, you know, the continents, the countries, the people, all on this globe, on this planet, and this spaceship. And we are just surrounded by this dark energy called the ether, or, you know, there's other words to describe this, you know, especially that word night, which is not true. You know, it is true, but it's not. You know, it's like, it's always dark. Space is always dark. Always. And so the reason why we see light, of course, when the sun makes its rotation, but we are living in a sea of energy. We're breathing energy. It's inherent. It's just like we're breathing air. Air is energy, and it's beating our heart. It's blinking our eyes. It is us. And it is space. And we are beings of space, energy, consciousness. God, Allah, call it what you will. It is us, and we are it.